had another Baha'i here in New York City, and I'm very glad to mention her. Her name was Carrie Marsh, and she was small and stocky and tough and muscular. And her profession was to have a little tiny suitcase. And she went around to all the big dry goods stores here in New York. Of course, it was much more, well, let's say, less rigidly controlled and security and God knows what than we have today. And she used to go around with this little suitcase to the different counters. And she would open her suitcase, and it had safety pins and needles and thread and perhaps some aspirin tablets and things like that, notions. And she'd sell it to the serving girls who used to get off their work in New York after everything was closed, at very long hours in those days. And then she would teach them the Baha'i Faith. And Carrie Marsh, I was very afraid of her because she knew my mother. She's a great friend of my mother. And I was about 8 years old at that time, and she was very strong. And every time she came to see my mother, she'd hug and kiss me and almost break my ribs. So I was really quite timid about getting hugged by Carrie. But that woman, and I think that these are things that are good to remember. So help me God, Carrie Marsh could have sat next to a university professor at a dinner party and talked to him about the Baha'i Faith on about the same level of comprehension as another university professor that was a Baha'i might have done. She knew the cause of God that well. And I think we have to remember that knowing the cause, least of all serving it and dying for it, is not confined to a university degree. It's not confined to being literate. It's confined to how much understanding and love you have in your heart and how much common sense and wisdom you have in your head. There's no monopoly on it.